being second generation, obviously you grew up at a time when kayfabe was still very much a thing, and entered the business really when it wasn't really talked about the inner workings of wrestling. How old were you kind of on your wrestling training journey or growing up before you were smartened up? Like, did your dad tell you how the business worked?
Yeah, I knew it always,
Always.
right from when I was when I actually could understand stuff like that. Yeah, I knew about that. Yeah, but there's how shall I put it? On one hand, it's good that everybody knows it's sports entertainment.
Mm,
The bad thing was, especially here in Germany, everybody said, "Well, it's show."
hmm.
Yeah, but it's show is associated over here with fake, and
Yes.
it's not fake. It's a real hard uh, impact sport.
Mm,
Just the people know how to take that impact, and that when the sport had a very hard time in Germany because of that, because the journalists didn't make a difference between that.
yes.
Nowadays, it's totally different because they know it's sports entertainment, and I always tell them, it's sports entertainment, it's high class performance, athletes performance, and impact sport. Of course, it's not like in traditional sport where it's about victory or losing. It's about the entertainment, but it's still a sport, a tough sport. You have to train 24/7 and be always on your toes because there's a lot of competition around, and so it's a really hard sport. And what was the first question beginning about kayfabe? You said,
Oh, just that. I mean, obviously, because when I became a fan, we were
mm.
talking earlier about when I mean, I started in early '90s. I spent my first 2 or 3 years watching wrestling, not knowing
Oh, that's what. Yeah, exactly. That's
predetermined nature. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
often wonder, would I have become a fan of wrestling had someone said to me
yeah,
at the beginning, "Oh, they know who's going to win or lose at the start." It seems
yeah.
crazy, given that I was watching Papa Shango and the Berserker and the replay,
Right,
but my
right.
8 year old brain didn't factor that in.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't. And so I became a wrestling fan on the basis that these were legitimate contests
Legit. Right.
and and I fell in love with it. And so that by the time I discovered, I guess like learning about Father Christmas, by the time I discovered the truth, I was too
Hooked.
far down the rabbit hole. I was hooked. And I do
Yeah.
wonder because obviously my children, my boys are 11 and 6,
Mm.
they both know, they both
Right,
they'll say to me, "Why do you watch that? It's not real."
right, right, right.
I'm like, "Oh, it's a lot, it's a lot realer than you guys think, actually." And that's a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
why I set up this show really was having spent 30 odd years as a wrestling fan, a very passionate wrestling fan. I
yeah,
have so much respect for all of you guys who did it for a living and who literally put their body and their health on the line to entertain us. And I think wrestling is still, even with so much more kind of mainstream acceptance and awareness, wrestling still does not get the same level of respect of any other professional sport, and it really
yeah.
should.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, thank you for helping the sport and supporting the sport in that way, because it's very true. We have a lot of injuries, but we not very often talk about stuff like that. I mean, for instance, I was my toughest injury was when I was blind. I had a bleeding in my head during a match, and because I got an insecurity, and I kept wrestling, and my vision went away in the match, and I always couldn't see anything. And while I was after the match, while I was walking back through the curtain, then my sight was totally gone. I was blind at the age of
Wow.
22.
How long until your sight returned?
It took a day and a half,
Wow.
but it was very, very scary because 2 days before I bought a house, I got married to my fiance. And then I was in the hospital after Monday Nitro, and I had to give her a call. I said, "Hey, listen, I don't know how our life will continue because I'm blind."
Oh my
Uh,
word.
that was, yeah, that
So,
was tough.
so was it a concussion?
Well, the thing was, I had a couple concussions,
Hmm.
but I kept wrestling because I didn't want to lose my spot. And at that time, I supposed to become the youngest U.S. title holder, was the valet Deborah McMichael.
Hmm.
She was on my side, and they wanted to really push me really hard. And I said, "Okay, I can't lose that spot now." and I did the pay-per-view. And Monday night, Nitro, the next day, I was like, feel funny the whole day. I had really bad headache and stuff like that. And the reason was every time you have a concussion, it doesn't matter how hard the concussion is, but the pressure on your brain and the brain swells up.
Mm.
And I had a match against Prince Iakea, and he gave me an enziguri kick to the back of my head. And that was the last thing. And because if between your skull and the brain if there's not enough liquid anymore, it should.
Mm.
And thing busted in my side vision, and then I turned blind. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of course I was lucky being in Saginaw at that time. They had a really good hospital for kind of injuries like that. And WCW was very kind. They paid everything and, sent me flowers, and all the boys were very helpful. And Scotty Riggs, he brought me to the hospitals. And I had to, when I arrived there, they said the doctors, okay, we put you in an MRT. And you have, after the MRT, said, okay, there's a lot of blood in your brain and stuff like that. And most likely we have to do surgery, get out the pressure of your brain and the blood and stuff, but we will wait a few hours to see how it develop. And I was very fortunate because being maybe so young or whatever, or good physical shape, my body absorbed most of the blood.
Wow.
I still had a high brain pressure, but they gave me medication, and I had to lay flat 1 week, and they performed some kind of tests on me where they cut me open here on my, how you say, here right between your leg and the artery, and they pushed a plastic tube that thick through my body. I felt it pushing through my body till to my brain, just to check what's going on up there. And I had to lay really still 1 week. I wasn't allowed to move. And after the week, when they said, okay, I can travel home to my home in Atlanta, my wife actually had to carry me to the shower. I was not able to walk almost anymore, and I was very weak. And that only in 1 week. It was very, very scaring. And then when I arrived in Atlanta, I had to lay in a room for 1 month without moving in the dark. Yeah, so that was hard, really hard, 1 month. And after that, I was living in Atlanta, like I said before, and the houses are built with like wood more, I started doing bumps in my living room. One bump, I was sick for about 3 hours. Then I took another bump. Every day I took bump and another bump. Then I started working out. So my brain gets used to it all. And then I went to the power plant, started working out there. And someday I said, well, okay, after about a half a year, I said, hey, to the office, I'm ready again. And they said, no, you're not stepping in the ring anymore. I said, that's my life, guys. You can't take away my life. I want to be a wrestler. That's my dream. That's me. I cannot do anything else. And they said, no. The doctor said, no, you're going to die. And I said, no, man, that's not true. I feel good. I know I can do it. So I kept training, and I went to, I don't know how many doctors I went. And one day I found a doctor who said, okay, there's a chance you can continue wrestling. And he gave me some letter. And I went with that letter to the office and said, listen, that guy gave me a release. I can go in the ring. So WCW was like, okay. So I had to sign an agreement. How you say, a waiver, or how?
Waiver, yeah.
It was like, I think 30 pages, and every page it said, it's your own responsibility. You can die. And every page I had to sign. I didn't even read everything. I just signed it, and 2 weeks later, I was on the road again and performed in matches. Yeah. So, yeah, that was kind of scary.
Yeah.
But
well, look,
that's just one injury. I mean, I had many injuries, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it, the sport, really, because it's a great sport. It's a great way to live your life. Like I mentioned before, so much fun, so much. It's good. So, and you know, you can have if you go just on your private skiing, you could have an injury, so it doesn't matter.